Okay, hi there and welcome to a topic video where we're going to walk through an exam answer to a question on water nationalisation. If you have a few moments, take a moment to press the pause button and read through the extracts. So this would be a question based on some extracts looking at the economics of the water industry in the UK. Extract A talks about water bills, talks about the nature of the market and the privatisation of water that was 30 years ago. And extract B focuses on Thames Water, and in particular investment spending in treatment works, the issue about the amount of dividends they've been paying out, the amount of debt that they have built up, and fines for releasing sewage into the Thames. So take a moment or two if you have time to read the extracts. I'm conscious of time in this video, so here's the question that I've been setting my students. Evaluate the argument that the interests of consumers would be better served by returning the UK water industry to state ownership. And notice here the little extra bit on the question: use appropriate diagrammatic analysis in your answer. In other words, use diagrams. Sometimes the exam board will ask you that, or they'll say using an industry of your choice, for example. This gives you an opportunity to do so. So I'm going to build my 25 mark answer. I think it's better to make fewer points. I'm going to build 2 KAA points and evaluate both of them and then come to a final conclusion. Better to build extensive points or more detail rather than go for a big wide-ranging approach. I'm going to build 2 points and evaluate them. Here's my first point. One argument for nationalisation is that it would then allow the regional water utilities to operate more in the public interest, perhaps with lower bills for households, which increases their economic welfare. Then you build the analysis. I'm using here connective phrases. This is because, as a result, this is shown. Those words in red are connective phrases. So this is because nationalisation involves the transfer of ownership from private to public sector. As a result, government-owned utilities can perhaps operate with different objectives. Instead of trying to maximise profits, for example, they might move towards pricing closer to an allocatively efficient price equal to the marginal cost of water supply. I'm going to show that in a diagram. Consequently, water bills for households will tend to be lower. That increases their consumer surplus, effectively increases their real income, and that's particularly important for households on low incomes who are struggling to pay the bills, struggling to save. Nationalisation might therefore be in the best interest of consumers. Notice what I'm doing here, what I'm doing in this part of the answer here. I'm going to put that in bold. I'll put that in a different colour. I'm linking back to the question. It's always a good thing to do. Once you've made your main point and built your analysis, always leave a couple of lines and then evaluate. Oh, before we do that, here's the analysis diagram. Sorry about that. So this is my analysis diagram showing monopoly. The normal profit maximising price is P1, where marginal revenue and marginal cost equal each other. They could choose to price at marginal cost here. They'd make less profit, but the consumer will be better off because the bills will be lower. Price falls from P1 to P2. How do you evaluate? Well, a good phrase to use is this one. A counter argument to this is that. So a counter argument is that a state-owned water business would make less profit, partly because prices would be lower, but also perhaps because if they don't have the discipline of the stock market or shareholders, there is the risk of X inefficiencies creeping in, extra costs due to the lack of competition. If profits are lower, then there'd be less profit to reinvest in the water industry. That could have an impact on leakage rates and water quality, for example. I'm using extract B to say that Thames Water has invested more than £1 billion in expanding and improving its treatment works. And lower profits also mean that the government gets less money in from corporation tax each year. Crucial exam point here is that don't be afraid to develop your evaluation. An evaluation paragraph could easily be almost as long as an analysis paragraph. It's better to write longer, more detailed analysis and evaluation paragraphs than to go down the short route. My second point, again, as you move to your second argument, make it really clear to the examiner that you're moving on. Second argument for taking water back into state ownership 30 years after privatisation is that the industry is essentially a natural monopoly, and as such is not suitable for the usual types of competition between suppliers. Natural monopolies can achieve big-scale economies, productive efficiency, and therefore perhaps value for money for taxpayers. Build the argument with a natural monopoly, the fixed costs of operating the network. This, by the way, this little quote is application. I'm using an extract there, so I'll put that in green bold because I'm applying the extract. The fixed costs of moving the network, operating the network, are high. This means that the average fixed cost falls as more households and businesses connect to the network. As a result, there's big internal economies of scale, and that means if the water is in the public sector, you can keep bills fairly low, and also the government can fund the investment. The government can borrow more cheaply, perhaps, than the private sector can. I think 10-year yields on government bonds are 1.5% at the moment. So the state may well be able to borrow cheaply to fund the infrastructure spending in the water network. And if they do that, if the investment goes up, that cuts leakages and helps to address the problems of water scarcity, the challenges of a growing population. Here's my diagram. Here's my natural monopoly diagram showing that the average cost falls as output increases. With a natural monopoly, there may only be room for really one firm to fully exploit the scale economies. Is that a case for state ownership? Then evaluation. In evaluation, the ownership of a business is only one factor influencing its performance and the impact on customers. Here's a great evaluation phrase to use. I'm going to highlight this for you in bold. It's important to judge businesses on a case-by-case basis. So don't assume automatically that the business or an industry should be state-owned or privately owned. You've got to look at the actual outcomes in a market. Some water businesses, some water utilities have performed better than others, keeping their costs low and investing to increase capacity. Also depends on how well the industry is regulated. The industry regulator, Ofwat, has powers. The question is whether they're prepared to use those powers. For example, finding Thames Water £20 million in 2017 for that sewage leak. If the regulator does its job, then the sector can improve, meeting the changing needs of households and businesses. I put an example there about investment in the new London super sewer. So providing the evaluation is relevant to the point you've made, you'll be in good shape for the exam. Hopefully in the paper you've got your timing right. That gives you enough time and space just to write and you'll need this to get to the highest levels of evaluation, a final conclusion, a final reason comment. Please don't repeat points already made. Try to broaden the discussion out. Here's my little example. Overall, I would argue that, nice phrase to use, overall, on balance, I would argue that the case for nationalising the water industry should be made on economic rather than purely political grounds. The natural monopoly aspect of the industry suggests that genuine price competition is unlikely. You've got regional monopolies. That's different to other utilities. This points to state ownership based on social objectives is convincing. However, I argue that the powers of the regulator, Ofwat, acting as a surrogate for competition, should be strengthened, providing they avoid allegations of regulatory capture, providing they're tough on pricing, tough on standards of service. Then the water companies can improve whilst remaining in the private sector. Households and businesses want a reliable and clean water supply at a bill they can afford. I'm arguing here that a well-regulated private sector can achieve this best in the long run. So I'm coming out against water nationalisation, but making the case for better, tougher, stronger, more effective industry regulation. Of course, your perspective may well depend on which part of the country you operate in. Water bills do vary by country, by region in the UK, and by company. Lots to look at here. There we go. So there, I've walked you through a 2.25 mark answer. What's the takeaway points? 1, build chunky analysis, use chains of reasoning, good diagrams, and be prepared just to develop your evaluation a little more deeply, a little further than perhaps you might have done, obviously under the pressure of time, and where possible use the extracts from the data and the text. Hopefully you found that useful. Thanks for joining in this 2019 revision presentation on the water industry.